This is the Horse Radio Network. This is episode 376 of Horse Tip Daily, a different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you one day at a time. Today's tip is sponsored by Equestrian Collections. You can visit them at equestriancollections.com. Howdy, everybody. Glenn the Geek back with you from Lexington, Kentucky, and welcome back to Horse Tip Daily. Well, this has certainly been a winter to remember here in the United States. It's all over the East Coast is under... As a matter of fact, I just read an article yesterday that 49 of our states are now under snow, or have snow in them, including Hawaii, because they have some mountains out there that actually get a little bit of snow. So that's fun. I know it's been quite a winter here in Lexington, Kentucky. It's been very cold. We've had very few days this winter over freezing, which is very unusual for us. Had another couple inches of snow last night. So it looks, again, like a winter wonderland here, but nothing like the Northeast is getting right now with their blizzard that's going on again. So we hope that everybody's safe up there, and our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Australia. I bring that up because they're having massive flooding now that has caused widespread damage and many, many deaths, and they're doing horse rescues like crazy. So our thoughts and prayers go out to everybody in Australia. We're having our expert today is Dr. Nerida Richards. She is from Australia. She's our nutrition expert, going to be here talking to us again. And I just that reminded me that I had forgot to mention something yesterday. So our best, we have a lot of listeners in Australia, New Zealand, down under, and we send our best from everybody here at the Horse Radio Network. Hang in there. The floodwaters will recede, and we wish the best for you, your family, and your pets. All right, we're going to be back with Dr. Nerida Richards with our latest in tips on nutrition. She, of course, is the founder of FeedXL, which can be found at feedxl.com. But this tip is sponsored by Equestrian Collections, and we'll be right back. Hey everyone, it's that time of the year again for after-holiday closeout sales, and Equestrian Collections has hundreds of items for you at tremendous savings up to 70% off. Closeouts from Ariat, JPC, Pessoa, Ovation, and so many more. Highly discounted specials include ladies' apparel, footwear, saddle pads, bags, belts, coats, and the list goes on and on. Remember, you can save up to 70% now, but this is a closeout and quantities are limited. So grab the keyboard and type in equestriancollections.com. You'll see the great big ad right on their homepage for all of their closeout specials now for the month of January. Get them before they're gone at equestriancollections.com.
Hi, Glenn. Thanks for having me back on.
You're welcome. Even though you do make me work on my own show, it's like, oh, geez. Keep me on my toes, Dr. Richards. Hey, we're going to talk about something today that I have absolutely no problem with personally.
Right. And that is eating.
Eating. I have no problem eating. Do you have any problem eating? I really don't have a problem with it.
No, I love my food.
And you know what? So. My horse, Beaker, my quarter horse, he don't have any problem with it at all. He loves to eat. You know, we've had him muzzled now, even up to about November. We had to keep him muzzled even after the grass, we had such little rain and everything because he just kept gaining weight.
Yeah, yeah. No, it is. I mean, for horses that have got great appetites, this topic is probably not applicable at all. So if you've got one of those horses that is bursting at the seams, you can probably switch to another tip right now. But there is, I mean, even for those horses, though, there is situations like if they get sick or stressed or, they're away from home, there is situations where they will actually stop eating. So generally at some point in time, most horses will experience a problem with a loss of appetite, unless they're particularly lucky. So,
all right, makes sense.
Yeah. So if your horse does stop eating, obviously the first thing that you need to do is work out why. And when people say to me, "Oh, my horse has stopped eating, what do I do?" The simplest thing to do, and the first thing you need to look at is, is it something in the feed that the horse doesn't actually like? Because there's all foods that we don't like. I was just saying to my husband the other day, sarsaparilla and glazed cherries are two things that I cannot eat and drink. Like they're just, if you put them in my food, I couldn't even eat them to be polite. So if you put something in your horse's feed that doesn't taste good, they're not going to eat it. They're just like us. So you need to work out if that is the case. And it could be something as simple as changing from one bag of feed to another. It's exactly the same brand, same product, but there could be something slightly different in those two bags of feed that has just put your horse off the feed. So what I say to people is if you've got 3 or 4 different ingredients in the feed that you're feeding your horse, separate them all out into different feed bins and let them show you which ones they like and which ones they don't like, because they'll go around and sniff all of the feed bins and eat the bits that they want and leave the bits that they don't want. Now, if they don't eat anything, obviously they're really off their feed. And there's another problem that you need to go looking for. But if they eat, say, 3 out of the 4 ingredients, then you can be pretty sure that the one that they didn't eat is the one that's causing the problem. So you need to either take it out of the mix or work out what the problem with that is, and fix that. So whether it means talking to your feed manufacturer to see what has gone amiss in that particular batch of feed. I know in Australia one company had a problem here a while ago with adding twice as much salt to their feeds as what should have gone in there, and all of a sudden all these horses went off the feed. Yeah, big oops. So yeah, just put the horses off the feed because it was too salty. I mean, you try and eat something that's too salty for you, and after a while you will stop. So that's the easiest thing to do, and it probably is the reason why your horse has gone off its feed.
Now, teeth can have another factor in that, right?
Yeah, so pain, any sort of pain. So if their teeth are painful, then they're not really going to be that happy to eat. So if they're not eating anything, then you need to keep going down and looking for other causes. So it could be disease or pain, and in those cases you need to get your vet involved to have a look and see if you can find the problem. So teeth, definitely. Gastric ulcers is another one. Anything that's going to cause pain. So even severe lameness, if they're severely lame in their forelegs, for example, just eating is painful for them to have their head down eating. So if you need to control the pain and fix the problems in those situations. There's other funny little things that will put horses off their feed. One of them is vitamin B1 deficiency or thiamine deficiency. So there's different weeds that horses eat that actually have an enzyme in them called thiaminase. So things like bracken fern, which is a very Australian thing. There's nardoo, rock ferns, and horsetails. And there's quite a lot of others as well. So if you Google plants and thiaminase, and you'll have them sort of come up. But
so that works the exact opposite of marijuana, which really makes you want to eat more. So could you just give them marijuana plants if?
Well, I probably wouldn't recommend that. It'd be quite funny though, wouldn't it? But yeah, over time, if a horse is eating these plants, they will develop a severe B1 deficiency, and vitamin B1 is well known to cause loss of appetite in all sorts of animals. I've read lots of literature, so in mice, in fish, even in humans in humans definitely, but I even read a study about a anorexic who was B1 deficient. Now that's not the case obviously with all anorexics, but in this particular situation it was a B1 deficiency, so that was really interesting.
So which plants do I have to eat then? To not be hungry?
I'll send you some bracken fern from Australia.
Yeah.
That'll fix you up. And the other thing that can cause B1 deficiency is the fermentation of grain in the hindgut, because the bacteria actually can produce not during normal healthy fermentation of fibres, but during the fermentation of higher starch grains like corn and barley that will get into the hindgut if they're fed uncooked. The bacteria that ferment them actually produce thiaminase as well and destroy thiamine activity in the gut so that it can't be absorbed, and that can lead to loss of appetite as well. So if you've got a horse on a high grain diet, then that is certainly something that you need to look at. Mycotoxins in grain. So if you're feeding hay, I mean, it doesn't even need to be overtly mouldy hay, or it doesn't even need to be hay that you can see mould in at all. Some hays can have mycotoxins in there, and certainly grains like corn can have mycotoxins present. And one of the first signs of that is a loss of appetite as well. So that could be a cause. over supplementing with things, so putting so much stuff into a horse's diet that it just, I don't know if you've ever tried to chew a vitamin and mineral tablet,
Yeah.
but they are, like, I have to hold my nose when taking them because
Yeah.
they just taste so disgusting. So if you're putting a heap of that stuff into your horse's diet, don't expect it to taste any better to them than what it does to us. So just be really careful with the amount of things that you're actually putting into your horse's feed. And if you do add a lot of stuff to your horse's feed and it goes off its feed, then take them out and see if that helps it go back onto its feed. One of the main things that people oversupplement with, according to a study done in the US, I think in Eventers, from memory, is over supplementing with electrolytes. And if you've ever messed up with your cooking and put too much salt in, it's a little hard to eat feeds that are too salty. So if you're putting electrolytes in your horse's feed, and particularly when they don't need them, the feed will taste pretty disgusting to them, and it can stop them from eating.
Okay.
Medications are another thing. I don't know if you've ever tried to eat bute, but it's pretty bitter and disgusting to eat. Or phenylbutazone. I don't know whether you guys call it bute.
It's like
over
chewing
there.
an aspirin tablet.
Oh, yeah. That's not good.
No.
So don't put it in their feed. If they're sick, put it into a syringe and syringe it directly into their mouth. So hopefully you will be able to identify the cause of why they've gone off their feed, and then once you've identified it, you can actually remove or treat that cause. So in the case of disease or pain, treating the disease or managing the pain for the horse hopefully will be enough to get them back on their feed. In the case of a vitamin B1 deficiency, there is a multitude of vitamin B1 supplements, and they're generally all the supplements that are aimed at either calming a horse or improving their appetite, so they're quite easy to find. And the main active ingredient will be thiamine in them, so that's quite an easy one to fix. Obviously, removing whatever it is that they're eating that is causing the B1 deficiency is the most important thing in that situation. But in the short term, to get them back on their feed, you should also give them a B1 supplement. If it's mycotoxin poisoning is a really difficult one to pin down. So you can use Equeanalytical. They can do a mycotoxin screen, and it's not very expensive. So if you expect it to be mycotoxins, then it's a good idea to send a sample off and have it analysed. And obviously, the most obvious thing to do in the case of mycotoxin poisoning is to get clean feed in. So if your feed is contaminated with mycotoxin, then get clean feed in. If that's not possible, like if you have a shed full of hay and that's not possible, then you may need to look at feeding a mycotoxin binder. Again, there's quite a few of them around, so ask your feed supplier about a mycotoxin binder and they should be able to tell you some. If you find that one of your feeds is unpalatable, so if you do the whole multiple choice test with your horse to see which feed is affecting their appetite, get rid of the feed that they don't like, basically. So if there's something in it that they don't like, find an alternative to it that they do like. For example, soybean is a classic one that horses don't like. If they don't like soybean, have a look at finding a different protein source for them. Something like I think you call them field beans. We use a lot of faba beans and lupins in Australia, which are not quite so common in the US. But even, if you're not feeding any alfalfa hay, using some alfalfa as a source of protein instead of soybean is probably going to be a much more palatable option for your horse.
All right.
If you're over supplementing, I would suggest you use Feed XL to balance your horse's diet properly and make sure that only the supplements your horses need are actually in the diet. One, it's going to save you an awful lot of money, and two, it's going to make the feed taste a lot better for your horse. With medications, as I've already mentioned, don't put them in their feed. And stress, if it's simply stress for your horse, I've got a mare who will not eat if she's in a box. Because she's claustrophobic and she just won't. She's got to have her head out the door, otherwise she freaks out. So obviously in her situation, she won't eat if she's in there. So we keep her out in pasture all the time, and then she's more than happy to eat whatever we put in front of her. So if it's stress, if your horse likes to be with a pasture buddy, then have him with a pasture buddy, and you'll just have to figure out a way to, if they eat separate feeds, figure out a way that you can feed them individually without stressing them out. But yeah, that's basically it. So keep the diet simple and make sure it's also comfortable and not stressful for them to eat. So have the feed bin in a nice comfortable spot, particularly if they're lame in their front legs. Have it up high. don't put too much stuff in their diet, and make sure it tastes good to them.
All right, great. And then, of course, they can find out all about feeding their horses correctly. And, actually, Feed XL can save you money, too, because if you find out that you're feeding too much of something, that might be something that you can cut back on a little bit, especially in the supplement department. So that's feedxl.com. Well, thank you, Dr. Richards. And as I said, this is not a problem that I've had. Does that mean, going back to the beginning of our conversation, does that mean that I'm not going to be able to have a root beer with you when I come down to Australia to visit you?
Well, I don't know. Is that what you call sarsaparilla? Do we call it different things?
Well, no, sarsaparilla is in root beer, actually.
Right.
Yeah.
I love ginger beer.
Do you really?
Yeah. I just can't do the whole mouthwash taste of sarsaparilla.
Yeah, well, no, me either. I don't think I could either. It's not something you see here a whole lot either.
No, we don't see it a lot in Australia, except that my husband just loves the stuff, so I see it a lot.
Yeah, I can't ever say that I've seen it anywhere outside of root beer. So
no, well, there you go.
Well, thanks, Dr. Richards.
No problem. Thank you.
I must say, I do love talking to Dr. Richards. She's a lot of fun to chat with every day. Well, we'll be back again tomorrow with another new expert and a different horse tip. Until then, stay safe, everyone. And remember, all the other shows on the Horse Radio Network, all 8 of them, can be found at horseradionetwork.com.
The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.